Hello and welcome to the UGAsports Call-in show. I'm your host, Paul Maharry, joined by co-host Jason Butt and Ben Choppy Bachmann, and we're going to chop it up for you guys. This is it's finally here, guys. Game week. It's finally here. I can't wait. I don't know about you guys, but I am excited for college football. We saw Vanderbilt last night or into the morning. 63-10 over Hawaii. Maybe Georgia can do much of the same against a team from the Pacific in Oregon. Ben, how are you, buddy?
Very good.
That's a great answer. This is such a good answer. You know, those open-ended questions that I send to you, you should send something back a little bit more. But that's fine. Jason, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic, man. We got, like you said yesterday, got a good open round of college football, and now we're just ready for the big week, including Georgia, Oregon, the main event for really the entire nation. I feel like so.
Is it the main event, or is Notre Dame, Ohio State? Curious.
Yeah, probably Notre Dame, Ohio State. I guess for our region, for our people.
For our region, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
They're closer in terms of how close they're ranked. I just think that's the bigger game because, to me, Oregon of the four is the least brand. So Ohio State and Notre Dame have been brands for so long. So you would figure that's the game. And I probably would do the same thing, to be honest with you.
Well, good thing they don't have to compete against each other. One will be at 3:30. That's the Dogs.
The other but I'm saying I would make that the night game. That's like the game they won. Is what
I'm saying. But guys, as always, if you're watching, you know what to do. Let us know where you're watching from. We'll shout it out on the show. We're going to deep dive into Oregon because Georgia doesn't play Oregon very often. We don't know a lot of these guys. You don't know a lot of these guys. So I did some research today, and I found out a little bit about Oregon, Ben, that most folks around here probably don't know. That is, you were supposed to say, like, what? Again, you're this co-hosting thing, man. You're really leaving me out there. But Randy says, "Go Dogs from Tifton, Georgia." What's up, man? Their offensive line's pretty damn good, man. I did some research on them. They've got 4 seniors and then a junior at left tackle. So not terrible. Then you start getting into, oh, well, can they run the ball behind this offensive line? And they have pretty much no production left from their running back position at all when you dive into their running backs that are left on their roster. And then you're like, okay, well, maybe they can have a quarterback pass behind this offensive line that's supposed to could potentially be the best offensive line Georgia faces all year. And then you see, oh, no, Bo Nix is their starting quarterback who scored, I think, a total of 21 points in 3 games against Georgia with a passer rating below 50. And then you say, well, maybe he can just get some of those wide receivers out there at Oregon. And their top wide receivers aren't back either. So Dan Lanning has his work cut out for him. I will say, though, deep dive into this whole team, their offensive line might be the best offensive line Georgia faces this year, and definitely the most seniored.
Sometimes,
yeah, I was just looking at them. I was just looking at the roster, and I think that there's the intriguing matchup is the pass rush against Bo Nix, because like Georgia got after him. But they didn't get as many like total sacks in that Auburn game last year. They got a ton of pressures, but it's just the only struggle I thought last year was they didn't get him down as much as you wanted to with the amount of pressure you got. I think that's one thing to watch for Georgia on the defensive side in the game. And then on offense, how does your tight ends go against the linebackers? I think Georgia will win that because I think Justin Flows has a big weakness in coverage. I think he's great against the run. I think he's very athletic. He's coming off that injury that missed him all last year. But I think in coverage, I think Georgia is going to be able to win that mismatch, just how much. And then also Noah Sewell is also there. So it'll be interesting to see him against like a Brock Bowers, where I just think as good as Sewell is over time, I just think one-on-one Georgia's going to be able to take him to town there. And I think those are the big mismatches to watch. I think otherwise than that, I think I like Georgia where they're at, or I think it's pretty split in terms of the matchups. So I think those are the two that I'm intrigued to watch going into this game. But overall, they have a bunch of second-year receivers who did not start last year, like you mentioned. Deontay Thornton and Troy Franklin, they're talented, but they're guys who are still developing and young and inexperienced. And I don't think anybody's going to be doing anything on Keeley, Ringo, and guys like that. So I think overall that Georgia should be able to win this game. You would feel confident. I'm just curious if it's more of like a 2-possession game or like a 4 or 5 possession game. That's what I'm trying to figure out here.
Here's the thing. We've got some Mike Harvey, part of the family, in the chat, 33-17 Dogs. So he doesn't have the Dogs covering the spread. Rhett Womack also does not have the Dogs covering the spread. Spread right now, for the folks who don't degenerate gamble like myself and Jason, and Ben occasionally too. Ben, you dabble, I'd say.
Yeah, it's more of a dabble.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll leave the degeneration to myself and Jason. It is 17.5 right now in favor of the Dogs. So it's a pretty big line. And both score predictions we've already got. I was going to do score predictions later from everybody in the chat. Both score predictions we've already got have not covered the spread. So, it's a lot. 17.5 is a lot. Okay, here we go. 42-21 from Dairy Products. There we go. So somebody's believing. We'll get there in a little bit. We had a comment, though, about their defensive line being one of the worst in the pack last year, and they are. So just to give you guys a heads up, they have 14 returning starters, Oregon does. Okay, so their whole offensive line, returning starters. They have 1 wide receiver, and Chris Hudson, who played 8 games as a starter last year. That's going to be their only guy that really had any type of, things thrown to him last year. Quarterbacks new, running backs new, 2 wide receivers are new. They have a starting tight end that started last year. He's a sophomore this year. He's not projected to start. And they only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 returning starters as of currently right now on the defense. They have 2 backups that seem to have lost their spots on the defense, but 5 guys right now. So if you count everybody returning, they have 14. But if you go by their actual depth chart, they do not have but like 11 guys returning. Not to say that's not bad, but who knows? We've got Eddie from Ackworth. Eddie, what's going on?
Hey boys, how are y'all tonight?
This is the last call-in show before the POS starts next week. So we're trying to send it off in style. Your office is looking dapper there. Folks listening on the podcast, he's got the Year of the Dogs with Jordan Davis holding up the national trophy behind him and a Georgia homemade wooden sign there. Oh, and the Braves.
Yeah, who made that sign for me is Logan Booker. He made that sign for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Logan Booker. I know he is a big-time friend of Dane Young's, and I know he does some woodworking as well. So
yes.
We'll go from there. Let's see here. Any word on if our kicking game is looking any better, Paul? Rhett? I don't know, bud. I don't know.
Reports haven't been that good. That's probably been the practice reports have not been great there. I think the punting's improved over time, though. The punting at first was also bad. So
here's the thing with the punting. You're definitely not going to have Jake Camarda back there. Right?
Yeah, but how's that Australian punter doing? How's he doing?
He's a rookie. I mean, he's a freshman.
He's getting better. He's getting better. He started off not great, but he's getting better.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep with this chat. You guys are killing it tonight, man. I'm trying to get you guys on here as much as I can. Let's see here. Randy Payne, do you think the Dogs will run more or pass more? I'll throw that around the horn. Jason, I'll start with you.
Just depends on game flow. I think they'll come out attacking. I don't put it past Todd Monken to have an early game script where there's a lot of passing, obviously mixing in the run to be back to offer that good balance. But if the game goes the way Vegas clearly thinks it could go, then yeah, I think you might end up with a heavy run sheet at the end of the day. But I definitely think early on, I don't think it's going to be a break their backs, just ground and pound old school football. I think they're going to let Bennett sling the ball a little bit.
I say early on, their strength of their defense is their linebackers, and the weakness of their linebackers is their coverage. So, and I think Georgia's strength, like I've said earlier, is their tight ends, and that's the matchup. So I think early on, throw to your tight ends a lot. Throw some screens. I've been saying, I thought last year, the one thing that I noticed when they put Stetson in, they did less of was throw a lot of screen passes. And you don't really have to look for that as much with Stetson in for whatever reason. I think they should utilize more screen passes and try to get the linebackers in coverage as much as possible early, and then you could start to ground and pound them and wear them away.
Eddie, where you at?
I'm with Ben. I think it's pass heavy, and Jason's right. It's all dictated by what the game flow is, the defensive flow is, and all that. But I really think this year it's going to be heavy pass. And you guys touched on it a little bit. I want to talk about this. So this Oregon matchup to me is really interesting and could be huge for Georgia because they're really strong up front, right? Offensive line, and we're kind of weak. Quotations on the interior line of our linebackers, right? So if we weather this storm, I think we're in for a big year. But this is a big challenge for Georgia up the middle. Y'all not agree with that?
I like that a lot. I like that a lot because I don't know if this game was a huge challenge for every position for Georgia, right? No. Oregon's wide receivers, they're not great. Their running back's not really that good. Their quarterback's not that great. We've seen Bo Nix, but their front offensive line is. And so how long can they hold Jalen Carter off? Can Nolan Smith get to the quarterback? Can Pop and Smile in the middle really, tune coverage and see what's going on the field? That's where I would want to kind of, really zoom in. And that's where I will zoom in on the game for the post-game overreaction show next Saturday right after is I want to see particulars, right? I want to see how does Georgia really look at, like Eddie said, inside linebacker. Can this – because this is probably – you look at the actual starts for Oregon's starters on the line, they've all started a good bit. This guy, their center, man, has been there since 2017, so he's like a Stetson Bennett. Their right guard's been there since 2017. They've got guys that have started there for a long time. So it'll just be interesting to see, how they're able to move up the field. If they can get up the field with that offensive line. If they can't, then I think you're in a really, really good position. Judge Marshall says, what are you judging their O-line against? Weak Pac-10 defenses? Well, I'm judging it against that because that's who they play mostly, but also just the seniority of the whole squad. They've all been together for a good bit. So, if Georgia had guys like this, which they do, coming back, cohesively, you would think that's going to be a big point of emphasis for them because the other part of their offensive portion of the other 6 spots, Jason, don't look great. So you've got to highlight something for them.
Yeah, and obviously the thing I started to say it earlier and I cut Ben off by accident, but I guess that's a good segue to get back to it. Sometimes, and I like the point Marshall brought up about the conference play. When you bring back a group, sometimes, you love the experience, you love the seniority, you love the fact they have a lot of snaps together. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be up to the challenge against a team like Georgia. Now, Georgia obviously is replacing a lot of guys on the defensive front, as we all know. So to me, that is going to be a good indicator early as to whether this game will go the way I think it will, which I think Georgia's influx of talent will be more than enough for those senior-laden offensive linemen. But you know what? It's first game of the season. If Oregon, the fact that Oregon gets Georgia week 1 and not week 3 or week 4, bodes well for them in that sense that there won't be a time period for Oregon. For these new Georgia players to settle in. That said, I still like Georgia's talent and the fact that the Kirby Smart element of this too. The fact that he knows Dan Lanning, we can obviously go into this a little bit more too, but the fact that he knows Dan Lanning, he knows his tendencies. Kirby's been on this stage a little longer. This is Dan Lanning's first game. I just like the fact that he's going to be able to coach these Georgia defenders up against really the only element that I think Oregon can really point to and say, this gives us a chance when, if that's taken away, then I think this could be ugly by the third quarter.
Funny thing is in watching, trying to get prepared for the show, I watched some Dan Lanning interviews with the press, and Kirby definitely rubbed off on him a little bit. He's not as snarky as Kirby, but he threw a couple jabs. They asked about what was it? I think it was like starting running back or something like that, and they're like, "Are you ready to announce that?" And he was like, "If I was, I wouldn't tell you." Like a classic, like Kirbyism there. So good to see Dan Lanning brought that with him over to the pack. as well. What is the Pac now? Are they still a Pac-12, but there's like 10 teams? I don't know.
I mean, basically, it's going to be the Pac-10, and then it's going to be the Pac-nothing.
Yeah.
It's going to die soon.
I don't want to
probably is.
I don't want to put a number behind it. I just want to call it the Pac now because like it's just like the Big 12 is, and then the Big 10.
The Big 12 accepted, like, we will take the stragglers that have some level of worth, and we're just going to build a huge conference around this, and we'll get somewhat of a decent enough TV deal that we could definitely survive. The Pac is just dead. They're dead.
But
hey,
I mean,
can I throw something out there real quick? So I know y'all watched the shows this weekend leading into college football, right? And it was all about how the fact that Georgia lost Dan Lanning, and Dan Lanning, and believe me, I'm not taking anything away from Dan Lanning. That they're all saying that he was a genius and he led the defense, and I thought that was totally dismissive of Will Muschamp. They didn't even mention him. They were like, well, Dan Lanning's gone. He was the genius of the defense, and they're in trouble now. That's kind of the way I took it. And it was it just dismissed what Will Muschamp brings to the table. And I think that guy right there, Will Muschamp, is brilliant on defense. Am I wrong about that?
Not just Will Muschamp, Glenn Schumann. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, both of them. Yeah,
exactly. Because I know when high school coaches sit down, when the coaches go out and visit the recruits and go out and check out some of the high schools, they talk about like Glenn Schumann sitting down in the boardroom is a wizard. That's why that guy didn't miss in recruiting. The guy not only building relationships, the guy's a wizard in terms of development and schemes. He's right up there with Dan Lanning in terms of his scheming and doing all that. And he's younger than him by quite a few years. I mean, he's only like 30. And that's crazy. And it feels like he's been at Georgia for a while, and he's only like 30 years old. So him and Will Muschamp's had experience as a defensive coordinator winning. And I also thought Will Muschamp was huge this past year. So I don't really buy that, because also the base of Georgia's defense has always stayed the same. How the overall defense run every time since Kirby Smart's been here. Mel Tucker was DC. He was all world. And then he's now a head coach somewhere. And the defense still finds ways to get better. So like I don't see that unless Kirby was gone. I don't see the defense having a huge drop off, to be honest with you. And I think Muschamp and Schumann are both great play callers and great at scheming stuff up. So I don't think that's a worry.
I think two things can be true. Like Dan Lanning can be a great defensive coordinator and did great things at the University of Georgia. Will Muschamp and Glenn Schumann can also be really good at their jobs and be really good defensive coordinators also.
Yeah,
so, that was not mentioned. That was not ever mentioned.
Right.
Of course not. It doesn't fit the narrative, Eddie. It doesn't fit the narrative.
Desmond Howard said it. You got to check his playoff bracket and be like, disregard.
What are you saying, Jason?
Yeah, TV selling storylines. That's a good, easy storyline for TV. So, they're going to probably hammer it this Saturday as well. But, I mean, Will Muschamp's been doing this for a long time. Yeah. Everybody who follows Georgia knows how well thought of Glenn Schumann is. Kirby Smart's, if y'all remember, when Kirby Smart was flying over to take the job back in 2016 to do the intro presser, that same day, Glenn Schumann announced on his Twitter account that he was coming. That was obviously somebody that Kirby thought really, really highly of back when he was, 25 years old. And it was kind of like, who is this guy that he's bringing? He was a staffer, a support staffer at Alabama, became a position coach on field guy at Georgia, and the rest is history. He's a future head coach in the coming years. So, they got plenty of good defensive minds at the University of Georgia. So the fact that was thrown out there is just that's just all for TV and to try and drum up interest, in my opinion.
Let's see. Mike Hardy says Dan Lanning was a grad assistant 5 years ago. The one constant on the defense is Kirby Smart. There you go, Ben. Somebody's agreeing with you. You're popular with some people.
I get more people agreeing with me than you, Paul. I mean, that's not shocking.
Rhett Womack says,
Paul, before you did go to another topic, what did you think of the Desmond Howard money playoff bracket of Pitt, A&M, Baylor? And, of course, Michigan had to be on there.
Yeah, I know.
I've never seen that guy not pick Michigan to win the Big Ten. Like, listen, sometimes you could be like, oh, this guy's a homer or not. I think Kirk Herbstreit and most of the guys on there are actually very unbiased. I really do. Yeah. But Desmond Howard, I'm sorry. I've never seen a guy obsess over a school like Desmond Howard. It just kind of irks me a bit because I'm like, dude, I know every year. Big Ten prediction. Michigan every single damn year. It hits once in a blue moon.
I don't know.
Explain Pittsburgh. Explain Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I
mean, what is that?
No, I have no idea what this guy's on.
People said their defense is going to get better. Like they're going to jump from like 80th to like 50th. Okay. That's enough. And Clemson and Miami are both clearly better than Pittsburgh. I mean, you think Slavis is going to be – I think they downgraded at quarterback, and I think Slavis could be a decent quarterback. So I don't understand that one at all.
I literally thought they got in a meeting room and they said, you pick the worst thing you can think of and let's get clicks on it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're laughing, Jason, but that's what they did, right?
I know. I mean, that's I'm laughing because it's true. I mean, it's obviously not true, but it could be. I mean, it's just so – it's so absurd to me that
absolutely,
that's just it's lunacy. This is probably the right word for it.
Well, they said it was week 0, right? But I put it as week WEAK 0. So maybe they had to come up with something.
I see what you did there.
You see what I did there? Yeah, it was week 0, all right. Because it was bad, man.
I mean, Nebraska. 2 of them had Nebraska winning that Big Ten division, and then they all picked Nebraska to win.
Yeah.
The funny part, Randy Payne right here. What about Nebraska? So yeah, we'll come back to some dog stuff, and we'll go off kilter here for a second. He said, "What about Nebraska?" Man, I saw a stat on Twitter that said Scott Frost could win his next 50 games in a row and still not have a winning percentage higher than Bo Pelini, who they fired and ran him out of town. Scott Frost could win 50 games in a row, and all those Nebraska fans. We were right last week. There was a ton of Nebraska fans in that stadium. And just so happens that the internet went down in the stadium. So if you stood in line long enough, you could get free beer. So they were giving them free beer because they couldn't pay for it.
The cup chain, right?
Yeah,
the cup chain.
They couldn't pay for
it. In
Ireland,
that's deadly.
Yeah, that's bad news.
And they're getting hammered fast too.
Didn't Scott Frost do an onside kick when he was up in like the third?
Up by 11. Up by 11, and he does an onside kick. It's like the moment you don't you don't risk that giving away that momentum is right then. I mean, if you had just gone up by 4, okay, whatever, but to go up 2 scores in that situation and then just give it right back. I mean, look, I had been a Scott Frost sympathizer. I thought last year they played a lot of tough games against, in the Big Ten, lost, a lot like a ton of
yeah, they were like all by 1 possession, pretty much.
And then add another one. I'm off. I'm done with this guy. He should have been left in Tarmac. The Lane Kiffin treatment. They should have left him in Ireland. I mean,
on the pub.
Yeah, just at a pub and say, you're on your own, kid. Like, get out of here. I mean, I don't know how he was so successful at Central Florida. I mean, this has been very eye-opening to me that he has not been able to get the job done in Nebraska. I really thought he would be the one. I'm now convinced. I tweeted this over the weekend. I'm now convinced in my lifetime I'll never see Nebraska be a relevant football team.
Let me ask you this, though. If he was not the legend he is at Nebraska, would he have been let go a long time ago?
God, yes.
Probably after last year for sure.
Yeah.
I just think you can't win there anymore with the recruiting soil.
No, you can't. You can. You can. They have.
You would take a great. Well, I think you can because the division in the Big Ten they're in. But I just don't. I think it's gonna be hard to win a title there. It just is.
Yeah, but it's also hard to win a title at just about every school except for 5 right now. So I mean, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama.
I think some schools realistically, like I could see Miami now with. I mean, John Ruiz by himself backing them is basically like, okay, they can be something again. And then you look and you say, well, I think Florida State's the one that they're basically they're a joke. They're humiliating. So I'm not going to talk about Florida State, but USC, they can come back. Texas and A&M, all of a sudden, like you can win at those places with the money they have, the recruiting soil. Now with NIL, if you're willing to pay big for these kids and you have the money, you can do it. Nebraska doesn't have that level of money. They don't have the recruiting soil, and their job isn't viewed as a top 10 job anymore. So I don't see it with Nebraska.
Nebraska was also slow. Like they looked like 1980s slow to me, their defensive front, and then just got pushed around in the fourth quarter. And I grew up in the 90s. I grew up with those Tommy Frazier teams, Tom Osborne coaching them. And like, I can't believe what I've seen these last few years with Scott Frost coaching them, and the fact
How about the Northwestern coach trolling them about the vomiting? Did you see that?
Oh,
Yeah,
I did not see that actually.
Oh my gosh! No, Scott Frost said that they were training so hard they were vomiting 15, 16 times, and Northwestern coach comes out after the game and says, "We only puked 4 times and we won the game." I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, no, yeah. So what happened?
Right.
Yeah, Scott Frost came out and said their new offensive line coach, Dominic Raiola, or I think that's what his name is.
The former NFL guy.
Yeah, making the guys throw up 15 to 20 practices. These guys were throwing up.
That's actually very unwise and unhealthy. That's a tear. Like they should fire. No, get everybody out of there. That's a
yeah. But the troll job was better, Jason.
I don't think it's Dominic Raiola because that's Dylan Raiola's dad. I don't think that's right, but
I'm pretty sure it is.
Let me check. Hold on.
But so then Scott Frost,
Donovan Raiola.
Donovan Raiola.
That's his uncle.
His uncle. Anyways. So yeah, they're saying, yeah, they're making these guys throw up, they're going through practice, they're pushing hard, and then Northwestern comes out after the game and is like, we only had 4 guys puke the whole summer and we won. So
no, their front seven was awful. Their front seven was humiliating to me because I kept seeing the highlights of that game was like the left tackle for Northwestern just bludgeoning them like every time. I know he's supposed to be a high round pick, but he was just beating them up, and I was like, he didn't even look like he was putting in much effort. Like these kids, their front seven was bad.
Switching games though, Marshall says off subject. It's not off subject, Marshall. We're talking football, man. Anything goes right around these parts. He was very proud of Vandy for the SEC. Most of college game day picked against them. I'm going to be honest with you, Marshall, that when that line moved from Pick'em to -8 in favor of Vandy, I was like, man, I might want to throw a little money line action on Hawaii. Glad I didn't. I did stay up until halftime last night, half awake, because that's about as far as I could make it. What was it, 21-10 at halftime?
It was still competitive. It was still
35-point explosion in the third quarter. And
yeah, it was 21-10, and I was like,
did that.
Do we have a new leader in the SEC East?
Yeah.
We have a new leader this year. The Commodores. Here comes the Commodores.
It was 21-10, right? So I was like, man, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. The wife's leaving in the morning, which we're going to get to as well, guys. I'm in a bad spot over here, guys, for a week. I need some pointers.
He can't cook himself food, so he's screwed over there, buddy. He's going to starve, and then we're going to need to hire a new intern to be like the 40-year intern to top him.
Yeah. So I had to go to bed, right, at a reasonable hour to help get her out of the house. And I wake up this morning 63-10. I mean, goodness gracious. That was unbelievable. That was absolutely wild. Chuck Ward says 3-year Letterman says that throwing up actually improves player speed. Chuck, did you know 3-year Letterman is Chuck 3-year Letterman's actually a member of the board as well. NASCAR Dawg on UGA Sports. So he got to throw out 3-year Letterman. Shout out to 3-year Letterman. Got to throw out a first pitch at the, what is it, Chattanooga Lookout? Something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, the greatest youth football coach of all time. So
by far.
What a man.
Yeah. How bad was Hawaii? 63-10. I mean,
is Timmy Chang coaching them now too?
Yeah.
The broadcast was typing them up.
Can I ask you guys a question about the SEC? Do you guys, and this drives me crazy, and it's just, I hate this. Do you guys root for the SEC? Because I don't. I hate every team that's in the SEC but Georgia. And if Florida goes out there and plays Notre Dame for the national championship, I am not rooting for Florida because of the SEC. I do not do that. I hate that.
Depends on the team. Depends on the team. Like Missouri, why hate Missouri? Like Missouri.
Let's put it to the folks, the family watching right now.
What does that do for Georgia?
Do you guys root for the SEC teams when they're playing out of conference games?
No.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm asking the chat here. We'll see what they say. Were you rooting for Vanderbilt last night against Hawaii? I think last night I was.
Well, I mean, night, that's fine. I mean, whatever. That's Vanderbilt against Hawaii. That's different. But I mean, when it comes down to the SEC, I don't root for my conference. That has always driven me nuts because what does that do for Georgia? If Alabama goes out there and wins the national championship, yay, the SEC. What does that do for us? Nothing.
Yeah, it's not like Georgia gets to share the national
exactly
championship with Alabama.
Okay, so we're getting some answers in. Depends. Never Florida. Brett, same way.
Yeah,
never Florida. Rhett, never Florida, Tennessee, or Bama against anyone. Let's see who else we can get. I would root for a team. I would root for a team from hell coached by Lucifer over Florida. Mike Harvey says.
That's a great call. Yep.
That might be comment of the night, Mike. That's a hell of a stash you got too, bud. Let's see here. Never ever Florida. It's Georgia or nothing. Let's see. We've got here's a different play here. DJ Academics Daddy. That's a great profile picture too. Says it makes UGA look good when we beat them down. I agree with that. Regular season, no, Timothy says. During bowl season, yes.
Why?
That's I don't know. I'm just the messenger here. Just a messenger.
I think for some people the bragging rights of being in the best conference, because the bowl season has historically been which conference is the best. Which honestly, at the end of the day, like bowl
cares.
Yeah.
If you're Paul up here and you're placing bets and you're like, dude, I like that money line, you're gonna cheer for that team. Like that's one reason. Like if you're a betting man, you're like, dude, as much as I hate this team or don't want another SEC team doing good, but I have a good feeling they're going to win this game or cover that spread. You're going to bet them, and then you're going to cheer for them. So, like,
that's
yeah, betting lines is different. I'm talking about conference overall. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah, that's the one thing. That is the one thing right there. Right there. Timothy says regular season, no. During bowl season, yes. I see where people come from with that. I don't agree with it necessarily. I see where people come from because ESPN makes such a big damn deal out of who, like, the bowl conference rankings. Oh, the Big Ten finished 6-3 and SEC finished 6-6. So the Big Ten is better than the SEC. That's how they base it though, because they have nothing else to talk about when it's the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl and it's the 10th SEC team against the number 3 Big Ten team. They don't. That's all they can do. I'm going to get to these comments. Let's see. Kevin says never pull for Florida and Tennessee, but yes to all the others. Interesting. Chuck Ward, I pulled for most SEC schools versus out of conference, except Auburn, Florida, Bama, A&M, LSU, South Carolina. So, all right, Chuck.
That's a weird list. That's a weird list.
That is a very weird list.
That's kind of weird.
Chuck, normally you have Tennessee on that list. That is a
Tennessee.
very random list.
Tennessee needs to be on that list, no doubt.
Randy Payne, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama is a no for him. Lee says, I root for AU, Kentucky, and LSU.
Oh, you root for – is that Auburn?
Auburn,
yeah. It's got to be,
What that one doesn't make sense.
No, that makes
Kentucky also sucks in basketball. Can't cheer for them in basketball ever. Like they're nauseating in that.
AC's on the SEC train. He says yes, except Florida, Tennessee, and Auburn. Let's see. I pull for all SEC teams early because if we lose to Bama in the SEC championship, we get the spot in the playoff.
Also, Paul, it's justifiable if they're playing against Georgia Tech because the Georgia fans hate Georgia Tech. You get a pass on that. But also, Georgia Tech's irrelevant. They should just
average at best says team coached by Lucifer ... Bama fan. Yeah, could be. Let's see. Tristram says I used to root for all of our teams. Speaking about the SEC when I was younger, but now I recognize the importance of recruiting. So not anymore.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, that is smart.
Dennis, this is. I love this, guys. Dennis Montgomery says I root for LSU and Arky outside of conference. This is so weird. Some of you guys got some.
A lot of Georgia fans love Arkansas.
Oh, well, why would you not? Sam Pittman.
Oh, so Sam Pittman gets your exception.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Dane Young says, OMG, is that Paul Maharry? Big fan. I did that to his show the other night, so he's getting me back. I appreciate that, Dane.
That was there.
Stan says, I'm happy to crap on Auburn, Florida, Bama, and Tennessee all year long. Apathetic to the rest. That's interesting, guys. You guys are putting all these in. I want to get to all of them. I really do. Bob says, depends on how much I hate the other team. Notre Dame, Oklahoma, and which SEC team. The ones that get normal national pass, kill them.
Kill them.
National pass, kill them. Okay.
I'm interested in why Oklahoma. Like, Notre Dame, I get. Everybody hates Notre Dame.
Oklahoma gets a national pass a lot of times. I kind of agree with Bob.
Outside of Bama, if you took off like you're a fan, Notre Dame is like probably the second most hated team in all of the country.
Oh, yeah, that one I get.
If you took off like I'm a fan of this team, so many people I know hate Notre Dame. They just hate them. It's like top 5 for like 90% of people I know.
Rhett says, y'all feeling it yet? Rhett, we'll leave that for the rumors versus facts guys Monday night. But
should be feeling good tomorrow around 8 o'clock.
I'm feeling pretty good right now, Rhett.
Feeling pretty good.
Lee says, I'm rooting for West Virginia this season. I wonder why, Lee. I wonder why. Old JT's up there. That's
a fun college town, Morgantown.
Yeah.
They're all idiots, but they're all lovable.
They're a lot of fun.
Idiots in Georgia, right? Yeah. West Virginia.
My best friend goes down there. I love him to death, but man, he's stupid. That's it.
Paying out-of-state tuition to go to West Virginia. That's tough. That's
tough.
No,
you know, not to get too off topic, but I remember years ago when I was looking at college and they were talking to me about Dub V and they were like, "Oh, you should go here." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm not paying."
Is that what they call it?
Go to Dub V. Yeah, they call it Dub V.
Oh my
God.
dude,
you know how they have like if they don't have your major in your state, you can get in-state tuition. I remember one of the ones are like, "Oh, if you came here, you should take puppetry, so you don't have to pay." But I'm like, "Puppetry? Are you kidding me?" Like these are some of the majors they have over at that school. Stop it.
That's awesome.
90% of it should just be drinking at West Virginia. Just drinking classes. Got to properly drink.
Okay, yeah, Chuck. Okay, we got Chuck. He said, I forgot Tennessee. All hell. Yeah, we thought so, Chuck. Let's see. 95% of the time, I pull for SEC teams over other conferences because it helps overall rankings if we are playing strong teams. I can get that. I can get that argument. I can get it.
Because think about it. We do clown on the ACC and the Pac-12.
We do.
They lose their out-of-conference matchups.
Oh, yeah. Well, the strength of record does matter. That is true because you look at like Danny Cannell every year, people like to trash on him because he's like the SEC's overrated, the East stinks. So if Georgia loses a game, they should be out. Well, if the other SEC schools are good and you beat them, then you could shut up that argument. I get that, even though you never want your rivals to be good. But in today's playoff format, I understand
that. I guess a Ducks fan found his way in here. Ducks for the win. See you Saturday. We will see you Saturday. We'll be word vomit there. Just much like the Nebraska offensive line. We'll see you Saturday. We'll be doing a post-game overreaction show. I'd love for you to come on and talk with us. And I'm not trying to bait you or anything. Get a Oregon Duck to come on and chat with us after the game and see what you saw. If you are an Oregon Duck fan, Trello, how do you feel going into this game? But let us know. Sam Pittman has hired a great staff and amazing team. Don't overlook them in the West. If Bama loses Young to injury, they're done. I don't know, man. Jalen, what is it, Milroe? Their backup? I don't know. He's pretty
I
good.
think the underrated thing for them is their 2 5-star tackles that are entering year 2 that haven't played yet. If they don't develop, I think Bama could be in trouble because the O-line. I think that's a sneaky thing to watch.
For that Classic City Collective thing they're doing, we're going to be talking to some of the guys.
I'm not going.
No, I won't be there.
And you're not going?
No.
Okay, I'll be there. So
yeah,
and I cannot wait to sit with my wife and watch the national champions take the field. I cannot wait. It's going to be unbelievable. And by the way, just watching everything yesterday with the college game day and all the activities that were going on yesterday, it's such a different feeling watching all this as national champions. It's such a good feeling, and I've never experienced anything like this. You know, I mean, to me, it's a total relaxation. We got it done, and they can just crap on our team like they did all day yesterday because basically they laid it out like Georgia's done. I mean, they did it last year. They got nothing coming back. They're done. And okay, we're good. Do y'all feel that same way?
Yeah.
That actually makes me want to ask an interesting question.
No.
What's a good season for Georgia this year? Is it like if it's not a national championship, that sucked? Or is it like make the playoff? Like what's it coming off a title? What do you say, okay, that was a good season, or okay, I can accept that? Like where's that for a Georgia fan? Because you did win the title, and I do think it's different. Because every year I'd be on the phone with people who would be like, oh, we got to get it done this year, or else we're done. It was like I felt like 3 or 4 years in a row, they're like, this is the best team Georgia's ever had. This is the best year to do it, and then they finally did it. So that's off, like you said. So the relaxation. So I'm interested what to see going forward is the expectations for people year to year, how it is. So this year, what is considered a good season or an acceptable season?
Well, I'll start. I mean, I don't think they're winning the national championship this year, and that's fine. But I think we're being completely underrated this year. Okay, I mean, they act like we lost all these starters to the NFL, and Georgia shut down their college football program, and we're now a basketball school. That's the way it sounds to me. It's ridiculous. I mean, I think we're going to go undefeated, and we're going to play Alabama in the SEC championship, and we're going to lose to them, and that's fine. That's the way that's okay. But what Kirby's building is a train. This is not LSU won the national championship and then we're garbage the next year. That's not what we are.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that winning the SEC East is kind of the bar at this point. Anything, and that's just, you have to set expectations. At a certain point, you come off of a national title. You can't win the East after that with what you have coming back this year. Then I think that would be disappointing. And I think honestly, Kirby Smart and these players would agree with that too. You want to put as a defending national champion, you want to put yourself in position to at least be in contention. Whether it's a 1-loss East champion or an undefeated East champion, hell, even a 2-loss East champion for that matter, if it comes to that. Being able to play for the SEC championship, presumably against Alabama, I think that's where the bar should be. And honestly, that's where the bar should be from here on out in terms of determining whether a season is successful or not under Kirby Smart.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you guys have already said. This team, as of right now, is I don't know if I want to say this. I was going to. I thought about it. I stopped. I was going to say is the next Alabama. They're close. I mean, they are. And the way that Nick Saban does it, the Georgia Bulldogs and Kirby Smart are doing it the same way. They're not rebuilding. They're reloading every year. And so, yes, they had a ton of guys go to the NFL last year, but they're reloading with guys that are going to go to the NFL when it's their turn. Mm-hmm. So it's not like we're used to with these Mark Richt teams where you're like, oh man, they just lost 4 guys on offense. Oh boy. Yeah. They might win 8 games next year. The bar's set. I mean, you're playing a pretty good team in Oregon, and you're 17.5-point favorite. Yes, it's in your backyard. I understand that. I get that. It's in Atlanta. Would the line change if it was out in the Rose Bowl? Probably not, because that stadium would be filled with dogs out there too. Yeah, they might have some more Oregon fans out there, but I guarantee you it'd be 70% Georgia fans, because now Georgia fans were so hungry for that first national title in 40 years. They got it. And now it's like, all right, the expectation is the East is ours. We just got to get past Nick Saban, who Nick Saban was just signed to another 8-year, $9 million contract, $90,000 trillion worth of money. So
is that line too high for you guys?
17.5.
17.5. Is that line too high for you guys?
That's around the number I have Georgia winning by. 7.
Really?
Let's see. Hold on. We have it written down here.
I wouldn't bet the spread.
I would not bet that spread.
There are spreads where I'm only telling a friend. I've said this is my terminology. I'm only telling a friend to bet a spread if I'm 100% confident. If I'm like, I would bet this myself. That's the only way I would tell you.
You covered it, Ben, and I covered it as well. But Jason did a cover quality pick on it. Which means that he would put his money down. He would put his money down on this.
I want to hear this.
Yeah, he would.
I think Georgia has the matchup advantage at most areas and can wear down the defense at the end with the run game.
Oh, so you think it comes down to the run game?
No. I just mean wear them down late in the second half. I think they're going to come out high octane. Honestly, I think it's going to be pass, open up the run.
Yeah, but you just said wear them down in the run game. That means we're up by 10 and we wear them down late in the fourth quarter.
Oh, no, no, up by 17-20 and just punish them, put it in. So sorry if that was misconstrued there. I really like Georgia in this game.
Didn't we basically have Georgia covering like every game but Tennessee? It was like the only one we were like, that line's a bit too much.
Let me see, bud. I got it here. Got the receipts, if you will.
We've had at least 2 people cover every game but Tennessee, I'm pretty sure.
Tennessee, all 3 of us, as it stands right now, Tennessee, ESPN FPI rankings have it -21. All 3 of us have it non-covering. That's the only game that all 3 of us have.
Those are going to change as the season goes.
Of course. Right? Yeah, of course.
That's crazy.
But that was what was out there. Chuck Ward saying 37-14. Damn, Chuck.
I don't think that's outrageous.
Really?
Well, the funniest is that Mississippi State. I cannot wait till that week comes around.
First-time head coach. We're talking like they're just going to pick up where they left off. They're like a pretty decent to good Oregon team last year. They're just going to pick up where they left off with a new head coach, with a new running game, with a new quarterback, with decent with
first-year head coaches. First-year head coaches are tough. Look at Kirby's first year, right?
I'm just saying. I mean. Kirby Smart in his first year as a head coach, right? Like you just said, yeah.
Damn, Paul.
I don't think it's out of this world to think that Georgia could come out and blow the doors off these guys.
Oh my gosh! You know how much my liver and my heart will be thankful for that. I mean, if we go out there and blow doors while I'm in the stadium, just freaking out.
Yeah, 35-7. Oh, you see a 35-7 there for Utah, Florida. Paul,
we'll touch on Utah, Florida in just a second. Chuck, when I first saw it, that was my first reaction was, damn, that's 37-14. I could see it though. I could. Jason's got some good points. I've got him covering. I'm not putting money on 17.5 though. I will.
Jason,
not.
Are you worried about the running backs though? Are you worried about the running backs?
Georgia's running backs?
Yes.
No.
You're not at all.
No.
Oh, I wouldn't be for this game, no.
Okay.
No.
Average at best doesn't seem like he has any worry in the world
Is
about
Kendall Milton going to be able to play?
I believe so. Yes. He's healthy enough right now. But, Paul, can you put up average at best comment?
75-3?
75-3. I don't think you'll have any worries about this game, according to him. That's like a quadruple quality pick.
Yeah, I mean, if you got 75-3, let's see here. Is this another Oregon fan or no? Oregon upgraded running back, receiver, D-line, and defensive back. They were decimated by injuries and transfers by Utah last year. The more you know about Oregon.
Paul, you know what that got me thinking? Utah beat the piss out of them twice.
Sure did.
And you're telling me Utah, I saw them play Ohio State and look soft in the trenches. I know Ohio State's good. Utah, I'm actually not buying Oregon up front against Georgia's D-line. I think rather quickly Georgia's D-line is going to be the aggressor because I know they're experienced, but they've gotten manhandled before.
If they do, then I feel very good about this season for Georgia. If like first quarter, 2 sacks for the Dogs, I will feel very good. Like PID gets in there, Ingram Dawkins gets in there for a sack. Watch out.
Have we done our breakout players for the year yet? Or did we ever? Because I think Taron Ingram Dawkins could be the breakout player of the year for Georgia.
You can't take my pick.
We talked about that. I feel like
we didn't pick it yet. How am I taking your pick?
I picked him long time ago.
Yeah.
Hey,
we never did pick. So how did I take your pick?
I picked him at the spring game. Did I not?
We never had to make picks, Paul.
I remember us doing some breakout.
I think I did.
We talked about guys, but I'm telling you this year, Taron Dawkins.
Like everybody thinks one right now.
This year, can I ask you guys a question? Who's the biggest breakout freshman Saturday against Oregon?
Oh, y'all know mine.
Go ahead, Jason.
Y'all know mine, Branson.
Really?
You really think so, huh?
Wow.
Malachi Starks.
Yeah, that's
a good pick, Ben. That's a good pick.
I think he might start. I think Starks could start.
Now, which side of the ball?
Safety.
Oh, it's safety on defense. I don't think he's. I think later on, if they're desperate in like the next year or so, they might put him and let him get carries or some catches if they need to. I don't think they're going to do it this early.
You're saying safety for this Saturday?
Yeah.
Defense.
All right. If I can't take Starks, I will. Oh man.
I think there's only one other logical one you could go to.
You could go Mike Keller. You could go Dylan Bell. You go either one.
Oh, Dylan Bell.
Dylan Bell, because I'm going Michael Williams.
All right, you go Mike Keller, then I'll go Dylan Bell. All right, fair enough.
Nobody said Jalen Walker. Damn. I mean, if Dane was on here, we would have had our Jalen Walker.
Yeah.
So, Jason, how do you think Branson Robinson contributes? I mean, because you got 1, 2, 3 guys ahead of him right now.
I don't look at it as a head. I look at it as they rotate these guys and then who gets going and who runs with power and who runs with that sense of urgency. And I think I don't know.
How many in the Arkansas game, Jason's clearly right. If this turns into like the Arkansas game where they're just bludgeoning them every handoff. But I just think Oregon's linebackers.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about like a blowout where he's handed the ball off and it's 37 to 10 and nobody gives a shit, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking tempo set early. You start balancing with the run game, and you get the ball to Branson. He starts churning out, making some plays, running over guys. I mean,
wow,
he's that kind of back. He's a Georgia back. He's a prototypical Georgia back.
All right, Jason, please. I'm writing this down for posterity. So for next week, how many carries for Branson?
I'll give them between. We'll go like 8 to 10.
I can give you a range. So you want a range? Yeah. Well, you pick your range: 10 to 12, 8 to 10. Which one?
Yeah, I got 8 to 10.
8 to 10. Okay.
Oh.
And then so that's carries. And then how many yards? I'll give you a 10-yard range there.
Oh man, 8 to 10.
110. Come on.
I'll give you a 2-yard range. So you let me know.
I'll go.
It's interesting because he could pop one big run.
So. Yeah, but that's part of it. I go 50, a range of yards, or do you want me to go? I'll go like 55 to 65.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Does he get a touchdown? Just as a sprinkle on top. Let's see.
I'd go under. No
touchdown. Okay. I'm just saving this for next week. That's interesting.
That's
interesting.
Because I agree with when Eddie looked a little bit confused by that pick. I was like, if you would have told me the season breakout freshman, I would have been like, I can fully justify it. This game, I don't know. The reason I compared it to the Arkansas game was if it's like a similar game to that where Georgia's just running the ball a bunch and we know Georgia substitutes, okay. But I don't think it's going to be that game plan. Mm-hmm. Because against Arkansas, they threw the ball like 8 times, even when the game was
he just ran
a game. So, like, that's what I was trying to say there. I think it's going to be Starks. I think Starks could get a pick in this game.
Oh, let me go ahead and let me put that down. Malachi Starks, interception in this game. Wow, we are going off.
Well, Paul, if you're taking Dylan Bell, what's Dylan Bell's stat line here?
You guys left me. Here's the thing. You guys all got to pick your
go
guy.
Over 3 catches at least, or else you're just being a pussy, Paul. I'm not accepting that from you. I'm not accepting that.
3 catches, 25 yards for Dylan Bell.
How does that impact the game?
Well, there's not
like
that many.
No impact. I told you were going to take
zero impact.
I just stuck my neck out there for.
You did.
I just guarantee the guy had a good shot at starting as a freshman and getting a pick, and you're going to get.
What did A.D. Mitchell get in week 1 last year?
3 catches, 24 yards.
Let's see.
Taking over the game.
While we're looking at that, Eddie, Michael Williams, what's his numbers looking like since that was your breakout guy?
2 tackles for loss and 1 sack.
That's good. Yeah.
See, I like that. See, Paul.
What's realistic, is it not?
Putting some numbers next. Yeah, putting some numbers next to our predictions.
Hey, speaking of A.D. Mitchell, I know you guys were probably there and saw it. Is there a kid more joyous to be at the University of Georgia than A.D. Mitchell?
Yeah,
that interview made me so happy to watch him smiling and being happy to be at the University of Georgia. What a great kid.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Game 1 against UAB last year for A.D. Mitchell, 2 receptions, 42 yards. So I think I'm pretty damn close with my 3 catches for 25 for Dylan Bell.
But that's not a big impact.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's
it's not an impact. You have to be somewhat bold.
That was also that he didn't play against Clemson, did he? So
No.
Wait. Brock Bowers had an impact against Clemson.
Yeah,
what were Brock Bowers' numbers? You didn't say his numbers because you trashed him, Paul.
Yeah.
I know what you tried to do there. You're not slick. You don't run stuff past me, Paul.
Oh man, you guys are good. You guys are good.
I'm looking at these numbers. You're not getting away with this. Bud.
Hey, Trello, I appreciate you being in the chat as a Oregon guy, and I think Frosty Mug as well, being an Oregon guy. I want you guys though to have this same energy come Saturday and come on the show with us, and we will talk.
Brock Bowers had 6 catches for over 40 yards, and he almost had a touchdown catch. And I looked at that and say at least 6 catches.
The first play
and
was
he led
Brock
the team in
Bowers,
receiving.
right?
He led the
first
team in
play.
receiving, so I could justify that one. But Dylan Bell, come on, Paul. What are you doing, man?
This is fine. This is fine.
It's not fine. 20 yards.
25 yards. Leave me alone.
What about a touchdown? Does he get a touchdown?
No touchdown. No.
Then there's no impact.
I mean, what is that doing? That's doing nothing.
That could be 2 first downs, Eddie. What are you talking about?
I have a question. If it's a 20-point, if you say they're going to cover a 17-point spread in your prediction, and he gets 2 10-yard catches first downs, there's no impact on the game pretty much.
Oh, no, my friend, you could be terribly wrong. It could be a third quarter.
This is what's called being bitch slapped. That's what's happening right now.
Look, man, I can't stick my neck out for a guy when you guys took all of my picks. I let you have Michael, Eddie. I literally let you have him.
You let me have him.
I took Dylan. I took him. I think he's 3
Well,
catches.
You should just switch to Jalen Walker at this point and say 5 tackles, and I'll be like, that's more acceptable.
No. Guys, it's been a great show. This is the last show for the regular season for the UGASports Call-in show. We're switching over to Saturday nights. It'll be myself and Roddy Nabolsi co-hosting. Ben will be on there for a little while. Jason will be on there for a little while. Eddie will be on there for a little while, I'm sure, calling us from the game. We're going to have tons of guys from UGA Sports dropping in different knowledge bombs on us. First off, here we go. Boom. Chuck, my man. Dylan Bell, 3 catches, 25 yards, 1 blocked punt. There you go.
A blocked punt.
You didn't say a blocked punt. Chuck said.
But now I am.
You're going to put a blocked punt down?
1 blocked punt. I'm putting it down. Thank you, Chuck.
All right.
Thank you, Chuck.
There's your impact.
Thank you. Chuck's got my back. Before we go, real quick, guys, Cool Cell, always a cool dude. How many sacks will Bo Nix takes on Saturday?
3.
3? That's it, Eddie. Edward, that's 3.
3's big. That's a pretty sizable game for Georgia's defense.
I think that's a reasonable number.
Yeah, I think too.
I'll just take 4, but I think 3 is reasonable.
I'm going 4.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, wow.
More the better.
Had to go with me, Paul. Interesting.
That's what I have. That's what I have for you. Tristan, appreciate it. Says great show, guys. As usual, have a great evening. You as well. Jeff High Top, Motel 6 forever. Damn right. Damn right, man. Damn right. Abraham Cakewalk 41-7. Georgia. That's a little wild. Guys, before you leave though, if you could go ahead and like the video, it helps us in the algorithms for other Dogs fans to watch it and tune in with us.
And
the
Paul's
reaction show is going to be.
I got my belt back. So there you go. Breaking news.
You got it back.
I got it back.
It was real. Look at you.
No.
Look at you. Guys, POS show is going to be amazing. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be insane. Bring your bourbon, bring your whiskey, bring your friends, family. We go for about 3 hours after every game. We talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. We also talk about all the other crazy games that happen. And we just keep it moving and we have a good time with it. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. This week's going to be tough for me. My wife is out of town all week. She cooks every night. She's Italian. And she's left me with 4 frozen pizzas and some leftover chicken Alfredo. I don't know what to do, Eddie. If I'm here Saturday
Do you have a toaster and toast? You can do that. I mean, come on, you can do that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if I've got any bread, Eddie. So, it's gonna.
You
be
can't
tough.
even go to the store, Paul. Your back is still in that bad of shape.
No, I can go to the store, but what am I gonna do with the bread once I get it here? Toast it? I mean, come on. I don't know.
He just told you to toast it. What are you, Paul?
This.
I don't know what you've been smoking before the show. I know you probably smoked some good stuff, but
come on, Paul.
Hey, man, we'll get through
Wear some pants.
We'll get through it, guys. I'm just letting you know it's going to be a tough week over here at the Maharry household. So just T's and P's in the chat, man, so I can get through it. Come on Saturday strong. Have a good, calorie intake each day.
Paul, you got the money for DoorDash?
Yeah, I got. Yeah, Ben.
Dude, they've been upcharging like crazy. I don't even think it's worth it at this point.
And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and end.
We're never getting a sponsor from DoorDash.
We're never getting sponsored from DoorDash. Talking about getting upcharged. Damn. Hey, Marshall, appreciate you. Loving the show, man. Mike says ramen noodles. Roman noodles.
Ramen.
Yeah.
RAMEN.
Yeah, I could do some ramen. It's going to be tough, guys. It's going to be a tough week. I'm telling you. If
it's so difficult.
I'm telling you, man.
Smell bees. It might be good for you.
Yeah. Hey, Eddie, stick around. Don't leave, man. Let's get out of the show and we'll talk after. All right, guys, we appreciate you so much. Go ahead and like the video, like the YouTube channel, mash that like button. What else am I missing, Ben? Anything?
Nope.
All right. We'll see you later.